Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around. My name is Tyler.
I'm Steve from woundedcorner.com.
And we are super excited for tonight's episode. We have an amazing guest coming up. You may know him from his YouTube channel where he reviews a lot of decks. You may also know him as a Magic tutorial guy. Kier Gomes is going to be on the show tonight. We are super excited to have him on. Also, make sure to keep an eye on the show. Later tonight, we are going to be announcing the winner for our Flex Deck collaboration giveaway there. Big thank you to Mike, actually, from Flex Deck for putting this together with us and reaching out and wanting to give this away. So we're super excited to announce that. Make sure to keep an eye on the channel. We're going to be dropping that right on the bottom of the screen at some point later tonight. So without further ado, welcome, Kier.
What up, Kier?
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been kind of crazy. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for everyone. So other than losing my mind, I'm doing great.
Good, man. Well, hey, listen, we're glad you have enough of your mind left to come on and be a guest tonight. We're super excited to have you here. And you know, I mean, honestly, I think everyone in the community probably knows you a lot from your YouTube and a lot of the stuff you do within the community. One of the biggest things I think recently you announced was the new position you took on with lit playing cards. So
and pure imagination.
Yeah, and pure imagination. Yeah. What kind of prompted that for you?
Yeah, I got a lot of jobs now, I guess. So
updating your LinkedIn.
Yeah, I need to. So it started with lit. I had been working with Mike McClure over at Doc's Playing Cards for I don't know, maybe a year already at the time that this happened, but we were just kind of looking for ways to rebrand the lit playing card design. It was, in my opinion, it was super underrated. It was kind of a recreation of the Win deck, which a lot of cardistry people love. So we were kind of just talking strategy, and I have a lot of experience with being in front of the camera, taking photos, making videos, interacting with people on social media. So I think at least for where it went with lit, was it just kind of made sense to have a face of the company that was comfortable interacting with people. And the great relationship that I already had with Mike and everybody over there, Kyle included, it was kind of I think just a natural step in the right direction of what I could offer versus what we needed. And then with Pure, it was interesting. So I've been a big fan of Pure Imagination really since the Les Meliers deck. I don't know if you guys have seen that with the Witch of the Moon. Yeah. So I've been a big fan really since the beginning, and they posted something on their Instagram. I saw it like kind of on a whim about needing an intern for the summer, just somebody who was good with basically creating content for social media, which is right up my alley. So I hit them up. They kind of sent me some homework and assignment to make, I guess like a sample size of what my work would look like for them. And we hit it off. They liked the work. They called me for an interview the next day. And then I guess after they got through some of the other candidates, I got the position for the internship, which was amazing. And then just recently became the head of communications for Pure Imagination. So
that is awesome, man.
Yeah, congratulations, man, on all the success, dude. Like,
thank you.
It's all about the time, right? Like, honestly, I don't see anybody else putting in the time that you put in to put videos up, to let the community like in on what's going on and stuff. And I commend you on that, and I appreciate it, especially with I know how much freaking time. It took a lot to say freaking, Tyler, but it takes a lot of time to edit video and get that stuff together, So I definitely am grateful for all the stuff you put together for the community, and it's a lot of work. So bravo.
Well, thank you so much, man. That means a lot. For real, stuff like that makes my day. So thank you.
It's not unnoticed, that's for sure.
Oh, no, without a doubt. I mean, I think a lot of people, when they think of deck reviewers, are thinking of you, or thinking of Magic tutorials, or thinking of you. And again, like, I know a couple of the questions that came in today were like, do you have any formal video editing training, things like that? And like, I'm guessing from your background, this is probably something you picked up as a hobby and ran with, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So it was interesting creating videos and taking pictures. At first, I had very little interest in any of that. growing up and when I was a teenager, especially, I just wanted to be a performer. I wanted to go everywhere and perform. I just wanted to be David Blaine most of my life. And then I think what happened was just as the online platform for magicians was growing, and it really started, I think, spearheading a couple of years ago. And I don't know, I wanted to make a video that was kind of a resume. So for gigs, if I wanted to get hired, I could just, here's a little sample of the type of magic I do and what you can expect. And it did what I considered well at the time, the video, like 100 views or something. So like in the first day, so not great. But I kind of got this high off of it. And then I started seeing other people and how they were doing it. And I think the biggest thing for me was like, if there's an audience here and I can do magic for more people in more ways, then I'm all about it. So I just kind of started studying up, and no formal training of any kind, that's for sure.
Yeah. How long have you been doing magic?
So I really got into magic, I would say it was probably like 2005. So I guess, 15 years, but not a solid 15. Right. I saw David Blaine's Street Magic special. It was like
everybody.
Everybody it was like a rerun even. So like, it was like, at this point it was already old. It was in the world, but I saw it and I was like, yeah, might as well. Right. They shot it in 480p with a camcorder. But it was just it was so bizarre to me and so unreal. And I had seen magic before, but I'd never really seen it like that. And I just loved the idea of having some unnoticeable skill that I could walk around and do card tricks or even flourishes, right? So I started doing magic really, really seriously after that. I got super into it. I was buying books. I was begging my mom to buy me a deck of cards, the whole nine. And I think, I don't know, it's probably just like any kid, right? I got into high school. I started wanting to fit in a little bit more. So my interests were a little bit different. I was more into like skateboarding or sports and whatever the case is, but I always just for fun would fidget with cards. It was just kind of this little thing that I had. And in like 2012, I think probably, I was living on my own in San Francisco or outside of San Francisco, San Jose Bay Area. And I missed playing with cards. So I just kind of picked up a deck, started playing with some cards. And then just ever since, every year it's been more and more, the interest is expanded. Now it's pretty much, it's my everything.
Yeah.
That's awesome cool. Though.
Yeah. It's funny because, when I started whatever, like a year ago, I was, I pretty much the same thing, like I've always been into magic, never really tried it or anything, when I'm pretty old. So when, I was growing up, nobody saw magic, and then once they started showing people like, the masked magician and like stuff like that was like, this is how this trick is done. And, it was this big thing. Nobody showed anybody, you read about it and that's how you learned. But like, so last year, like a year ago, I just like everybody stumbled across a Chris Ramsey video and was like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try it, and here I am stuck in the magic community, just, with freaking 500 decks around and,
yep. It happens fast, man. In fact, I was going to ask, so Tyler, I don't know how you got into card collecting because you said you were a newbie.
So I'm relatively new to this. I've always had a fascination with magic since I was probably really young, but probably around like 2011 when like custom decks were really starting to get popular again, and you could go on Kickstarter and really people were customizing the back and it was standard quartz and they were going crazy. Mm-hmm. That's when I like first stumbled across it, and my girlfriend is a graphic designer, and I said to her, I'm like, yeah, we could definitely design a deck of cards. I'm like, this can't be that hard. Look at what other people are doing. We have the ideas. We could do it. And at the time, I was also in law school, so it like got pushed to the side. Completely forgot about it. And probably about October this year, an ad popped up, or October 2019, an ad popped up for Theory 11. And I went and I looked through their decks, and I was like, I remember custom decks. It all came back to me as a rush, and I'm like, I'm gonna start getting into it. I took a look around, and it's funny. I didn't even pick up a Theory 11 deck as my first deck. I think my first deck I picked up as a custom was like Bicycle Stargazers, and like, because it was cheap and quick, man. And I was like, oh yeah, this is it. And by the time that the Bicycle Stargazers had arrived from Amazon, everything about that statement is wrong. I had already probably ordered another brick or two of other decks that I had seen and liked, and I'm like, oh, this is a bad addiction, but I'm gonna ride it out. So
yeah,
yeah.
I bet everybody on this stream right now can relate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Same thing with Steve. You mentioned like you saw a Chris Ramsey video and you're like, that's it. It's so funny, man. Because one, this is what makes me laugh too. Is so if somebody from our time, which is the recent couple years that I've been on YouTube and the recent couple months that we've all known each other, it's funny because somebody from now would watch a Chris Ramsey video and probably not even know that he's a magician versus from 2 years ago when every single video was playing cards or magic, or it's so funny.
Yeah, no, it's like I'm excited for him and his success, but I wonder if something happened in that click, like the Pandrea, the Ramsey, like
Madison,
Andre Gique, like not Madison. I don't, because Madison still teaches, like he still does tutorials. Right. So, but when was the last time you saw a Pandrea one? And he was doing them 2-3 times a week, maybe, or two maybe 4 times a month. But those dropped off. I don't see any of that clique doing tutorials anymore. And I was just curious as to, did something happen where they're like, we shouldn't show it anymore? Or, mainly all I see now is, Chris kind of just doing puzzles, and
crazy.
I think his video editing and working with McKinnon and his crew, they're creating great videos.
So good.
Yeah, but it's funny because, like you said, just my interest in the videos that are coming out of there is I've dropped off.
Yeah, same thing, man. I don't know. Like I actually, so I've known of Alex Pandrea a really long time. I mean, he's been popular for a lot longer than I think some people know, but I wasn't even I wasn't subscribed to his channel. Same thing with Chris Ramsey. I wasn't really subscribed to their channels. I mean, I knew who they were. I knew a lot about them. And when I got into YouTube, that was kind of an easy platform to draw inspiration from. But I wasn't really subscribed. I wasn't super I don't know. I wasn't all over YouTube, even when I was on YouTube, until I think maybe like a year ago when I saw how deep the rabbit hole can go in magic related content on YouTube. And you just find gold in there, man. There's some old videos from Pandrea, from Ramsey for sure. Even though now they're not as, high end, or they're not as well done, just the magic or the, whatever it was in the video, I think still is super inspirational.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that actually brings up kind of something that we were talking about before we went live is I think a lot of them, we I don't know, because this is just speculation, but I think a lot of them are going towards the Patreon thing. Mm-hmm. That side of things, like, who we were talking about is Ollie Milling, who is incredibly stupid talented.
So good.
And he used to put up a ton of stuff on his Instagram, and he kind of removed them all. And now he has Milling's membership, which is amazing. It's cheap. It's $10 a month, which is super cheap. And I think a lot of people are going that direction nowadays, and maybe that's why they stopped and they're just building up their library first to unleash it. I don't know, but for those of you who haven't checked out Milling's membership, Ollie Milling on Instagram, check him out, and he's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, for everybody on the stream, if you guys are interested in taking your magic, your sleight of hand seriously, I just did a video review of the Milling's membership subscription. And that's on my channel, so I'm sure that'll be linked somewhere, but it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, that guy's a monster. He's an absolute monster. It's worth the money for sure.
We'll link the video down in the comments.
Yeah, and it's the cool thing about it is it has like all these different levels, right? He has beginners, he has intermediate, and he has like fucking hard.
Yeah, he's got like knuckle breakers. Yeah, some of that stuff is super hard.
Yeah, and I mean that's cool knowing that someone who's been doing it for so long, like yourself, says it's so hard. That tells you the level.
Yeah,
that's the fun of it too. You get that challenge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. I think to me, I mean, that's part of the satisfaction of doing magic. A lot of us, you know, I haven't, due to quarantine, I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I haven't been out performing magic in quite some time, and I still get a rush from certain things that are just so satisfying to do. For me, I can fool myself with some of that stuff, you know. So
Nice.
difficult moves.
Nice. Can you, while we're talking about it, can you want to show us something that, you know, maybe everybody out in the audience can get a little taste of Kier magic?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna throw a shameless plug in here. Is the new Oxygen deck by my boy Nick Nisco. I would review this live.
Yeah. No, that is a phenomenal deck.
It's so good, man. I've been messing with it since I got it, man. I can't put it down.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is actually, speaking of Ollie Mealing, this is something that I thought was really fascinating. It's off of his membership, but totally clear for performance. It's basically a new take on what we've all seen before as the like shake change or the shapeshifter. Might have to turn down the light a little bit. Can you guys see me okay?
It's a little bit of reflection on the card.
It's a little bright, maybe on your right side, I think, probably coming in from the window. Yeah, maybe turn your back a little bit more towards the other side.
Here, let's try this. Is that better?
That works. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
So it's essentially a take on the shake change or the shapeshifter. You guys have seen the shapeshifter where your hand covers half the card and then changes.
Yeah.
So Ollie has this interesting take on it. And I've been kind of for the last few days building a little bit of a routine around it. But essentially what it would look like would be, Tyler, let me have you just name any card in the deck.
3 of clubs.
3 of clubs. That's funny. That's my favorite card.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah, that's not even patter. That's true. That's crazy. All right, so we're going to take the 3 of clubs. You guys both have this deck. You can verify there's no duplicate 3 of clubs in this deck, right?
Yeah,
I think there is. No, I'm just kidding.
I think there might be.
Isn't the duplicate? Is the duplicate a 3 of spades, right?
Yeah, 3 of spades.
Yeah.
So we were close. So anyway, I guess what would happen next would be, in order to perform the change, rather than taking whatever the top card is, let's say 7 of hearts, rather than taking it and doing a shake change, which is super overt and a little bit all over the place, there's this new clean handling where I could take the 7 of hearts, and if I just pop over here, it looks a little bit different. You can see it looks more like the 3 of clubs.
So good.
So there you go.
That's so good.
Yeah,
that's nice.
So good.
An incorporation of the spread pass and then this color change, but with some good patter that can look really visual and super cool.
No, that's impressive, man.
That's cool.
Well, thank you.
If you were just getting on YouTube, right? It's you're coming out on YouTube and you had to show one magic trick. Which one would you show?
That is a great question.
Not so much as a tutorial, but like which one would you do kind of to start a tutorial? You don't have to do the tutorial, but just do maybe like a trick that you would do in the video.
Okay, so you guys want another trick? That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, sure. But we want to know your go-to trick. The one that I learned was this Chris Ramsey one right here. I don't even know what it's called, and then you put it down and
the control. Yeah, that's a really good control.
It's so easy. I don't even know what it looked like because I couldn't even see what I was doing.
It was good.
Okay. But that's what I learned.
So that's a good question. I think if it were if I had essentially one magic trick to tell people why they should subscribe to my channel, my go-to for the last probably 3 years and dozens of performances as a good opener or just kind of midstream magic trick is Back in Time by Jay Sankey. If you guys haven't seen that effect, I would love to show it to you at some point, maybe after the show, but it's such a powerful effect. It's so good. Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, definitely.
I look forward to seeing that.
What's it called? Just so we can maybe put a plug-in down below.
Yeah, it's called Back in Time, and it's by Jay Sankey.
Nice.
Great magician.
Cool. There's so many amazing magicians out there that don't even use Instagram or anything like that.
It's crazy.
I admire them, but it's also kind of a shame.
Yeah, because I just want to see more stuff,
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, especially just more stuff. I think it's really cool. I wish Draya was putting stuff. I really dig Draya, and his flow is so good. He's so chill and smooth, you know?
I gotta say, as much as the deck doesn't get a lot of love, I watched his video that he put together for the like the pre-release of the Fort Knox, and he does like a whole little like show of what you can do with the deck and the extra cards and everything, and it was just
nice.
It's breathtaking. It's such a good video, and just like Steve said, his flow is spectacular. The way he presents and his talking, his like hand move and everything is just perfect.
Yeah, he's a fantastic performer for sure.
Yeah, and he's just unconventional. He's not like pick any card, you know. He's clever. He thinks of new things, and he just has his like mannerisms is just like really like, you know.
He's very lax. Everything he does is chill. Yeah. That's probably the best impression I've seen of Alex.
Yeah, that's what I get. You know, obviously I've never met the dude, but that's just my interpretation of his videos, you know.
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah, let's ask a couple questions. Tyler, you have a couple questions that people ask.
So we actually had a good amount of questions that came in for the show. One of them, I think this is actually a good one too, considering that you look at a lot of decks for review. From a personal perspective, when you actually go to buy a deck, what like weighs more to you, color or design?
Ooh, I don't know how to answer that, and I tend to over answer, so I'm going to try to keep it brief.
We got time.
We got plenty of time, bro.
I think it's a little bit of both. So the color is what's going to catch me. I am partial to standard-ish looking decks for the most part, and red decks. They remind me a lot of like red bicycles were my thing forever, right? But also I think as we get into this new innovative design, formula where people can break the border on a deck, or they can do, one-way designs are in style right now, which is really cool. So I have since kind of revised my my partial bias towards red cards to just looking more at like what's the idea here. So I guess it's not so much the color. I guess it is more the design, but it's also really, can I see a concept in it when I look at it, or what does it make me think of, or I'm definitely into, when I buy a deck, I'm into, can I see myself using this deck, or am I just going to review it and throw it on my shelf? So
right, yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
Now, what along with that, I mean, we can get into it. Actually, yeah, go ahead, Tyler. Ask another one, just because that could take us off on a tangent about your deck that you created recently. But we'll get into that.
We'll definitely get into SlowHands because I like the deck. I'm excited about it. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. And to your point there, though, too, I think one of the things that always kills me is when I see a deck that catches my eye based on the color and the design just doesn't live up to what I hope it can, and then you're like, damn, but I really love this color. What do I do? So that's always a shame.
Totally.
Another question we had though from the audience was, what we got here. That's actually a good one because I know you probably have a lot. How many total decks do you have?
I don't know.
Don't count, man. Don't count.
I'm afraid to say that number out loud. No.
Ballparks are fine.
I would say probably in the ballpark of like close to, I'm going to say 1,000, but hear me out. Sometimes what ends up happening is I'll have, and Steve, you know this because we've done some business together. I'll have some decks that I've reviewed or whatever that I'm not an avid collector. I just tend to keep a lot of what I have, but I typically will offload stuff. I'll sell it, or I'll give it away, or I'll, but at the current moment, I do have a lot of decks of cards, but that's just mostly,
yeah, I mean, you handle a lot. You're constantly reviewing it. So you obviously have to supply that,
Yeah, it is a little crazy sometimes. I do believe that there's such a thing as too many cards, but I don't know what that number looks like,
None of us do, that's for sure.
We haven't found it yet.
Clearly not,
yeah. Let me know when you find out that number, okay?
I'll let you know.
Well, if you ask Chris Ramsey, it might be several thousand, so we got a long way to go. We actually had this discussion.
I think the difference between Chris and some people is Chris gets all his shit for free. That's the difference.
Well, so Steve and I actually had a really good discussion about this a couple of weeks back when we had Keller on, because Keller was talking to us about some big collectors that he knew, and it kind of spurred the question of how many decks is like the most decks anyone has. And we looked it up, and there's a guy in China who has 11,000 decks of playing cards, unique decks of playing cards. Yeah, that face right there, Kier, is the face I made too. I was like, what? So,
I mean, a lot of what I have is like multiples of the same deck because I mean, I do get, this is going to sound like a brag. It's not, but I do get a lot of stuff just shipped to me from, various different channel supporters or sponsors or companies. And they usually will send more than one deck, which is super awesome, super courteous.
Right.
So I do end up with multiples. I mean, like sometimes it's a couple bricks, sometimes it's a lot of bricks of the same decks of cards. Right. So that adds to it too. I would say unique decks or one, like in terms of the number of decks that I have that are not multiples, it's probably closer to like mid hundreds.
No, I'm just kidding.
6. I have
47 bricks of. I have 47 bricks of orbit 1s and orbit 2s, and yeah,
it's all I need.
Oh man,
that'd be good for your bank account, that's for sure.
Oh hell yeah, man! I'd start an eBay account tomorrow.
Oh my god, yeah. There'd be
bro, I'll take 6% on Wounded Corner, bro.
Yeah.
Oh man. So speaking about orbits, and I guess this kind of goes more so not to orbits specifically, but like which designer or company do you have the most decks from? Would you say?
I don't know. I gotta think about it, but I have a lot of decks that I have like the whole collection of, right? It's like I have all the orbits, I have all the OPC, but if we're excluding obvious things like bicycle, I would say probably. I'm cheating. I would say probably Gemini. I've been working with them for the longest, so they've sent me a good amount of. I have almost all their decks, I think.
Nice. Can you do me a favor? Can you do me a favor with Gemini?
I don't know. I could try.
All right, Gemini. If you guys are listening, is it Thomas? Is he like? Is he Gemini? Okay, Tomas. Yo, bro, you have like a talented photographer here. There is no reason why I should be seeing shitty blurry photos coming from Gemini playing cards. All I gotta say is from one photographer, and here's another one on as a guest. Send the dude more fucking cards to take pictures of your decks, bro. No excuse, man. Okay, I'm done. Anyways, I love Gemini. I think they're great, but bro, the images, man, they need some help there.
I have mixed feelings about that because it makes what I do, which is I would say middle of the road. They're not horrible, they're not amazing, but they're somewhere in the middle. It makes what I do look a lot better when everybody's photos get posted. So there's good and bad. There's give and take. But no, I do love Gemini. I love the relationship that I have with some of the guys from their team, and I would say, I mean, even if I had never worked with them before, I was a fan of Gemini long before that, and I'll be a fan no matter what. I love Tomas Pinston's design work, but yeah, I appreciate the plug for me, Steve.
Yeah, dude, trust me. I've like, there's been so many times where I'm like, I'm just gonna reach out and be like, let me take some pictures, man, because like. How much does it cost for one of those Gemini decks? $3-4? Like, send me a brick and I'll take like dope pictures for you. They're better than the blurry ones. Hell, I'll even do it on my iPhone.
There, yeah.
I'll even do it on my iPhone to look better. Anyway,
that's so funny.
Tomas, I love your stuff, especially your 1975 deck because that's when I was born.
That deck, yeah, the color on that, everything about that deck is beautiful,
gorgeous.
Yeah. I have a question.
I'm here
from our buddy Luke Wadey Design.
Good friend.
Are you ready for this question?
This is gonna put you on the spot here.
I don't know now. Is he gonna ask me who my favorite designer is?
Luke Wadey said, "Who are your top card designers?"
My top what?
Top 3. He gave you a little wiggle room there. Yeah.
He gave you a little wiggle room, and he put a laugh face after it. So you got
Yeah, take that for what it's worth.
Luke, if you're watching this right now, or if you watch it later, I love you and thank you for the question. So I would say, does it have to be in order? You guys make the rules.
No, it doesn't matter.
Don't
any
put
order,
order. Just name them.
If I set all bias aside, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Daniel Schneider is probably one of my. I mean, he's definitely in my top 3 somewhere. Nice. I would have to say, in terms of vision and clear execution, Luke can do more than a lot of designers that I've seen. He is so not lazy with his designs.
He's so fast too. Like his mind is so quick. That
He's-
COVID-19 deck is like,
I love it.
dude. No, but
Dude,
that's what I'm
good
saying.
looking.
Like it's so fast. Like even when Stu McCann was going through his thing and he came up with that Stu McCann
Sevens
deck,
for Stu,
it's
yeah.
like this fucking guy. He's like super quick. He doesn't like. He just gets it done and it looks good. It's just definitely for sure.
I would say. I mean, he has to be my top, and that's without the bias and the little caveat that we're friends. But
he is a pure like graphic design visual with a lot of his decks, which I think is phenomenal. Like even my girlfriend, again, that's a graphic designer but not a card fan, saw his decks and she's like, "That's a good looking deck." Like,
yeah, and you can see too. I mean, like by the way, third designer, obviously, I mean Nick Nisco, right? I mean, let's face it. Tomas Pinston though. Hardcore honorable mention. Like, if not breaking my top 3, he's in there. Yeah,
bro. I hate to tell you, but you already said your 3. So tell me. Just kidding.
Sorry. Yeah, I can't change.
You may
it
be
now.
4, you may be 100. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Luke is amazing, and I think something too. There's something to be said for designers that are not particularly magicians or cardists, because it's harder, right? If you're not embedded in cardistry culture, it's very hard to make a deck that's going to cater to people in their very unique tastes, right? So I think Luke does a good job of seeing a vision of this is what he wants to see on a deck, and then making it kind of its own thing in the cardistry community. You can look at a Luke Wadey deck and it's a Luke Wadey deck, and I love that.
Sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Jacob Burnham says you're his man crush.
Did he say that?
Yep, he said Kier is my man crush, and someone just said, oh, I might have missed it. So he said you're his man crush.
Oh well, Jacob Burnham. He's a friend of mine, so thank you.
Yeah, and Jeff Patton actually said he's not on your list. He's hurt.
Jeff Patton is one of my best friends, so yeah. I'm sorry, Jeff, if I hurt your feelings.
Right.
Yeah, no, that kid's awesome. He's worked with me on some designs before in the past, things that we want to roll out in the future, things that we haven't rolled out yet, and things that we have rolled out or started to. And so,
nice. Now, that actually is a perfect segue into how did you choose who to bring on as your designer or collaborator in your deck, SlowHands, and what was that process? What did it look like? And tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I mean, I would like to say that I had a million designers knocking on my door for the job, but what actually ended up happening, so I had been sitting on the idea for SlowHands for I don't know, a couple of years already, maybe 3 years, when me and Nick connected, and we actually started connecting because I did his trailer for the hydrogen deck for Kickstarter. He hit me up and was like, "Hey, can you review this?" And I was like, "Definitely, it's an awesome design. Let's do it." And then I did the review. He liked the B-roll. He was like, "Can I use this for the trailer?" So I was like, "I'll make you a better one." We got to talking, but I had already had the idea for SlowHands kind of worked out in my brain for a couple years, and after just chatting with him back and forth about his design and his background and all of his I guess passion towards graphic design and making playing cards, he seemed like his values were very similar to mine in terms of what the deck what I would want to represent. And then visually, he actually did a lot of the initial work. My idea was I wanted a traditional looking red deck, right? Yeah. For magicians. And he took the idea of SlowHands. I knew I wanted to call it SlowHands. He took the idea super literal and then started drawing up the logo, which is the snail with the hand. And I had never thought about doing that. I thought like I wasn't set on a snail. I wasn't set on anything being a literal representation of the name. And then I saw it and I was like, that would look sick kind of on a bicycle back.
Yeah.
And then he goes, you know what? I've never done scroll work before. Let me try to draw it myself. So he hand drew the custom like font where it says SlowHands, the snail, everything. And then I knew that's the designer I want to work with on this project and the next one after that. So yeah.
No, it's super impressive. He did a great job with it.
That's cool. That
Yeah,
you were saying about like he had kind of the same vision that you have, and I think that's one really cool thing that I've witnessed in the community and the people that I've connected with. Because just like in any community, there's people we connect with. There's people where they're just shit bums and whatever. But I think there's those people that we know, because I think we're in the same tribe, like and I think
I agree.
In my head, there's the people that care about others and the people that don't. And I think right off the bat when I first came in, your Nicks, your Luke, your people like that are just super rad, and it's cool that you got to work with him, because he might not be like one of the most well-known names out there.
Yet.
No, for sure. No, yeah. Of course. But he's super talented, and he's super interactive in the community, and he's super giving, and he's super talented. So that's pretty cool that your first deck you got to work with someone like him,
Yeah, absolutely. It was an honor. And I mean, Nick, that guy, I mean, I think he's got so much in him. His concept for his brand, for Elemental, is so smart. And so, I mean, it's very promising. It's an ongoing thing. He's not going to run out of elements anytime soon. So he's, he's got that idea of not just how do we put out a deck of cards so that way we can be one of those people that has a deck of cards. You could tell he thinks this stuff out. And with SlowHands, I mean, every single day, sometimes hours a day, we were back and forth on, do we like this idea or do we like this idea? And I can genuinely say, and I'm always one to give people credit where it's due, but especially in this case, the SlowHands deck and how happy I am with it now would not have looked like that, and would not have been I wouldn't have been as proud of it if I didn't have somebody like Nick that shared that vision with me. So super awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that he came up with that. And I mean, he's like a Luke. Like, they're just both incredibly smart and intuitive with their mind and their heart, and that's really cool.
Absolutely, they're both so sweet.
Yeah, so it's cool. That he was the first. Was he the first designer that you brought it to, and boom, you guys did it? Or
so I had actually. He'll probably see this, so he'll find out now. I had actually talked to a couple other designers prior to Nick, but like a year earlier, and they were, I think, as you would have referred to them, shit bums. They were people that wanted to design a card, they wanted free decks, they wanted to be involved, but they didn't want to make a contribution. They just wanted to be, can you send me free stuff and I'll so it's hard.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of going through designers, and certain people. I'm reaching out to certain designers that I think have the look and feel of the deck I would want. And it's funny because I sent the image to someone who I thought is creative, and I sent them an NDA. They signed it, whatever, and I sent them a picture of the deck. And they just never responded. And it's like, and I reached out, I'm like, anything? And like, nothing. And I'm just like, bro, like just write back and say, you know what? I saw it, and it's not something that I can get creative with, because it's all subjective. I wouldn't take it personal. I had someone like Lowtrack who said it has great potential. It's a great deck. It has great potential. Obviously, someone like Lowtrack, you're going to be sitting on a deck for year because he's so perfect, or his perfection is just through the roof. You know what I mean? But I think working with Nick on that was perfect. I think you guys crushed it. So good job.
Thank you.
You guys crushed it with that deck.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It was so much work. So thank you.
Yeah. Do you plan on having any other colors come out, or is it like just a version 2 type thing, or just recolor? Or
so officially on the record, yes, there will be a V2, 100%. That's happening.
Nice.
The concept, everything, we've got ideas, we got a lot of them. It will not be a new colorway of the same deck, though. So the next one's going to be a different design. That's why. So you'll notice when you guys get the decks, if you look at one side, it says Starters Edition on the side.
Okay.
So the V2 will just be a different edition. So every deck, think like Svengali, the Pandrea and Ito Wang collab. three of, in my opinion, three of the best decks that Alex Pandrea has ever done. It's going to be that kind of same idea of just, it's a same brand, new deck, new design, new everything.
Cool.
That's real nice.
Yeah,
you can obviously,
sure. No, that's cool.
It's always smart to build a brand. Can you
just do one blue one and send it to me?
Yeah, I would do one.
Steve and I both love a blue deck there, but I have to say, even though blue is my favorite color as well, I'd love to see like a teal one.
Teal would be sweet. That's a color that I like for decks. I think that's a really, it's very photogenic. It photos well. It translates well into camera. Yeah, good color. And it's not something you see that often either. I think a lot of times when people approach it from like let's do a teal deck, they get scared off from it. It's really the one that stands out the most to me is like the signature edition Charmers that Keller and Lautrec came out with, that teal that they used for the paper there, and that's such a limited run. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely breathtaking, and that's maybe that like sets the standard for teal too high for everyone else, though. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it does, man. Because I mean, it is funny. It's the same thing with like pink decks. So when I put the back design for the SlowHands deck up, and I was like, all right, here it is. A lot of people were, it was very well received, don't get me wrong, so I'm not complaining, but there were a good amount of people that either know me personally or that have been subscribed to my channel for long enough to know that were like, why is it not pink? Because pink decks are kind of my thing, right? Yeah. And I was like, well, I don't know. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I'm so not prepared to design a pink deck of cards. I mean, I've tried in the past and even though it was awesome, it's a difficult color to work with, very similar to teal.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it definitely has to be. It's kind of like in the photography world, it's kind of like black and white. A lot of people just freaking throw something in black and white and they're like a black and white image, but it's very, very specific images can be turned black and white. And 100%. I think it's the same thing with CODs. And I think you can tell, I think, some decks that come out, like, it would look so much better in this if it had like a contrasting color or something like that,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the color's as much a part of the design as the design itself. Really, you can ruin a deck with the wrong color. Like,
I agree.
It's funny too. I was gonna say, a good variation on a pink you could use would be like a coral, but they just came out with the coral Jerry's. But to me, that one almost doesn't hit as well as some of the other colors they came out with there. Like, it's not a bad looking line, the whole deck, but the coral almost just doesn't pop the way it should on something that's done right. Yeah,
it reads more like an orange to me.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not a fan. It's really, well, at least on the box, it's really close to the red. Like on the box, it's really hard to figure out which one was coral. When I first got them, I'm like, did they send me all red?
I still can't tell when I go to grab them off the shelf. I'm like,
Yeah, I think they bombed on that color. I would have liked to have seen like that purple color that they did the gaff color in, or maybe a yellow with that logo. The blue and red would look good.
Oh yeah, that would look great.
But that teal color just was a miss to me.
I like the teal. I didn't like the coral that much.
The coral, that's what I meant. The teal was bomb. Yeah,
the teal they did nice on. Yeah,
the teal is super.
The teal contrasts perfectly with the red, because blue and red, honestly, like they go well enough together. But that teal,
it's very crisp. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the old cherries.
Yeah, for sure.
Which we had actually a good
cherries nuggets.
So it's funny, you've now torn me, because we had actually two questions here, one for Jerry's and one for cherries, and I'm like, all right, what should I give you now? But along the lines of the Jerry's, and kind of back to the whole deck review idea, do you own an original Jerry's? And if so, have you ever like played with an original versus a modern, and any like difference you can like distinguish there?
Yeah, so I don't own an original Jerry's, but I have played with an original Jerry's.
Okay.
They definitely feel different, and I'll even say that the modern or the vintage feel Jerry's reprints, they do feel very similar, but not quite even the same as OG Jerry's. The thing is, I can feel the controversy, guys. I'm sorry if this ruins your show.
I already agree with you, bro. I'm one of the few.
And I'm all for hype. I'm all for especially casino decks. Yeah. They're not up to standard. That's a deck that if in any other circumstances, if somebody were to pick up a deck that handled like that, they would not like it.
Yeah.
It's super. I mean, it's just not for everyone. It's definitely not for me.
All right.
I still
that's
own
fair
it,
enough,
so if anybody comes across one.
I've handled one, and I'm not great. Obviously, I'm not good at all. But I've handled one, and it's just like anything. It's like, you know what? If you're a good magician, it doesn't matter what fucking deck you have. If you're a good cardist, it doesn't matter what deck you have. You'll make it work, right? There are stocks and cards that aren't easy to perform with, you know, if you're fanning, if you're whatever. But when it comes down to it, if you're good, you just do it. You know, you'll make it work, and you learn how to live with it. And most of the people who pick up an OG Jerry's won't even be able to tell the fucking difference between an OG and a new one anyway.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah,
definitely.
not very true.
And I'm not sure if that's enough of a, you know, like the whole thing about, I love the legend of Jerry's Nuggets, right? I love the story, but for me, is that enough? When people are already, I mean, you know, people already love cards. We all already want to buy cards all day. And I think there has to be some limit. I remember there was a time when I told myself, like, I don't need to collect cards. I perform magic with bicycles, just like, you know, just like all my heroes did, you know, and I was kind of set in that way until I started reviewing decks. And then I was like, well, I got to buy this deck so I can review it. I'm going to check this one out. And then now obviously I can appreciate it a lot more, but Jerry's, like, that's not an investment I would be willing to make, you know?
Yeah.
You could buy a lot of nice handling decks for the same amount of money. I'm going to tell you right now, if anyone wants to go out and spend the amount of money that they could on Jerry's, go buy as many oxygen decks as you can, because they feel phenomenal. That's not even like a shameless plug to Nick. I'm not getting anything for it. I love the feel of that deck. Definitely check it out.
100%,
Bro,
I agree.
I agree. And it's a cooler design, you know, and I think a lot, it's just like any collecting community. It's just the allure of having the whatever. But let's be honest. This looks exactly like the other one. Literally, exactly. Yeah. And it's like $12 or $10 or whatever the fuck. I don't even know what it is. But I mean, I think it's just the allure of like collecting. But when it comes down to it, it's like most people could give two craps about it, you know?
It's true. And it's funny. That's an interesting point too, because like, so for me, I have a bunch of the Jerry's reprints. I love those cards. I'll use them all the time. And I do love the design. I do, you know, but for me, like, I don't know. I think about if I owned a $500 deck of Jerry's Nuggets, what am I going to do with it that anybody else in my life is going to go, dude, you're cool. You know what I mean? Like, what is my mom going to be proud of me because I have it? Probably not, you know? So
no, because most people would be like, dude, that's like half a rent.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And they'd be like, on a deck of cards, are you kidding me? Like, as if we don't get a bad enough rap as people that buy obsessive amounts of playing cards. Imagine, you know, if I don't know about you guys, but I'm not rich, so I can't do eccentric stuff like that.
Bro, if I was rich, I wouldn't be on this show right now. Let me tell you.
Well, that's the thing. But you also don't get rich buying ridiculous cards like that. I mean, I think it's funny too, because we've had some people on the show who have spent good amounts of money on cards, but they're, you know, cards from 100 years ago that have beautiful gilding still in an amazing condition, have history to them. Yeah, the Jerry OGs have history to them, but like, they're 50-year-old cards. Like, you can find a good amount of them. Some of these other cards that are 100, 120 years old, you're lucky you find 4 ever. I mean, I know Kevin's in the chat, I think, right now. He's been looking for, I think it's called a mixed back Congress deck for, like, I don't even know how long. And he's telling me how rare it is. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, to me, that's amazing, because if he found one, it would probably cost just as much as an OG Jerry. And there's maybe 5 of them out there. Like, that's impressive.
It is. And the find would be impressive, but then also part of it becomes, I thought about this. This makes me laugh. I thought about it specifically with the Cherry Casino V1s, I believe. Okay. I thought about it because that's like the only one that I don't have, right? And I was like, should I just treat myself and track one down and get it to complete? And then I was like, okay, why, first of all? But then also, what makes it value? You got to think about what makes it valuable, right? Is just that people want it because there's not that many. So there is no actual personal value to me with a Jerry's Nuggets vintage reprint or a vintage edition, right? The original ones, because I wasn't alive when the whole myth happened, right? So other than the fact that it's the Loch Ness Monster, it's unattainable. It's the only thing that makes it really worth pursuing. And then the other thing is you can ask people that have almost bought them, and you'll see the realization that they have of like, I'm tracking down the I'm tracking down the Fontaine V1. I'm tracking it down. And then somebody's like, "Oh, I have one. You want to buy it?" And they're like, "How much is it?" No, never mind. So it's not actually, it's not actually something that people want when they have the option to actually spend that kind of money on it. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because how many did they make? 25,000
of the OG Jerry's.
They made a lot. 20?
Yeah, I think there was
20?
30,000. I think
that's a lot of fucking decks. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
that's a lot of
decks. Yeah.
So and supposedly Kevin from the Congress guy actually did a live recently that he had a conversation with someone that is pretty well known in the community and responsible and reputable. That supposedly all the decks weren't shipped out. Anyway, we don't even know the truth behind the whole story of Jerry's, to be honest with you.
There's a lot of mystery and myth.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes them like, but like, anyway.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing about the community is to each their own, and if you feel better about having that, then crush it, and if you can spend the money on it, crush it and do it. The cool thing about collecting stuff like that is you'll get some money back. That's the one thing that I've always been a collector of things: baseball cards, football cards, basketball cards, jiu-jitsu uniforms, and I used to collect guns. Yeah, don't even ask. But when there was times where I was struggling, I could always dip into that collection and get my money back. You know what I mean? And that's I think is the cool thing about any type of hobby collection,
Yeah, for sure. It can always get you out of a jam. And that's something too that I recently had to think about, because I used to have this philosophy. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but like in the last probably like 2 years, there's been one or two like Q&As that I've done or some live streams where people will say things like that, like, why do you open your, like, why are you opening that deck? It's so nice. It's a Fontaine deck. Why are you opening it? And there's two extremes. There's the people that are like, cards are meant to be used, so thrash everything. And there's people that are like, don't open it, keep it pristine. And it depends on your intent. So I think a lot of times people you buy a deck, you don't want to shuffle it right away, right? Because you're like, oh, it feels so good. It's so new and crisp. But then like, if you're me, I'm like, I got to break this thing in. I want to make it nice and worn. And then there's some people that just can't stand to watch things like that. I think it was one comment that I had on maybe a Fontaine review, something like that. And it was the Fontaine Carrots review that I did, or the V1 or the V2, I can't remember. And I was cutting up actual carrots, and like the cards were kind of like spread out on this cutting board, and then I like put them on a plate in the oven, and people are like, oh my God, what are you doing? But if you ask me, like, I mean, I love Fontaine. I absolutely love Fontaine cards, but like, isn't that the whole point? Like, to have fun playing with them and doing crazy stuff, ridiculous things, I mean, I throw cards for my cat because she loves it all the time. Regardless, if I'm holding, it could be this new oxygen deck. If I'm holding it and my cat wants to play, I'll throw cards because, I mean,
don't say that to Nick. Don't say that.
Hey,
that's why I was missing some cards out of the decks I got from you.
Oh, that's my cat. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, sorry, Nick. If my cat wants these, I throw them. But I mean, he sent me enough that I can afford it.
Oh, nice. Cool. So I have another question here.
Okay.
This is by Forest of Spades.
Great photographer.
Yeah, Derek, right?
I don't know.
Dominic.
Dominic. Yeah, Dominic.
Dominic. I don't know why I said Derek, but Dominic. He also does the whatchamacallit, the cod potions.
Yeah.
Cod potion. I think he's at Cod Potions. His question is, what's your favorite RGB light color?
I guess blue.
Is it blue?
I guess so. Yeah.
Tyler thought it was pink because a lot of pictures are pink.
Yeah, pink is kind of my that's also in my videos on my YouTube. That's the accent that I use. I'll put like a pink LED that lights up this wall in pink.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite aesthetically for like the setup that I have right now, I think it looks really good. But if I could just choose to work with one LED, I guess blue. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and blue looks so much better on on camera anyway.
Very clean. Yeah.
Very nice.
Gives you that cool crisp niceness. So we did actually have a question in chat too, and I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
Ooh.
So Ian Cardistry Addict wanted to know what your favorite Fontaine was besides the Rip and Dips.
Well, the Rip and Dips have never been my favorite. So, so Ian, thanks for your question. My favorite Fontaine deck probably is, it's going to sound underwhelming, but I love the Fontaine Slight. I love the navy blue color with the white F, so clean. But in terms of, more, I guess, notable Fontaine decks, I didn't really care for any of the futures, but I do have the Guess series, and I really like the original Guess, the Guess Farmers Market one. It came out with Fontaine. I'm really into that one. Yeah.
Well, seeing that we're talking about Fontaine, what's your take on like exclusivity in decks and stuff you can, only get a few of and maybe not even get them?
Yeah.
I mean, not so much like even the in-person draw, but just like the, keep it low numbers and hopefully nobody gets them, but they sell out.
I think there's a part of me that really understands it, right? So like where it all started for Zach with Fontaine, he probably only raised enough on Indiegogo to fund 1,000 decks, right?
Yeah.
But when you see that, and then you see the return, let's say he kept 3-4 bricks for himself, and then he sees how much those things are going for after market, and he goes, okay, so if I only print 1,000 of my decks, and I always keep a private reserve of 4 bricks, I'm making more money that way than anything else. So I definitely get it. As a business person, I think it's smart, and I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I think we create a problem with it when everybody needs to have that deck because of what it is. So I saw a comment on the stream that said like cards sell just based on hype. Yes and no, right? I think people wouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to buy an ugly deck regardless of how hype it is. If I don't like it, I don't like it. But I also think that if there's only 1,000 of a deck and you're a company as big as some of these bigger companies that are still doing low print runs, have a reason for it. With Fontaine, it's like every single deck is limited, but there's not really a lot of reason for that, right? They can afford to print more decks to provide decks to more people, but then they lose their status of being the almighty Fontaine, which I also get. So I'm torn. I get it, but I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they printed another 1,500 to 2,500, they wouldn't lose their status. It might sell out an hour, 2 hours later, maybe not. But it might, it will definitely allow more people the opportunity to get them. And like you said, it depends on what your game is, like what you want your legacy to be in this game. Do you want your legacy to be someone who sells out cards, or do you want your legacy to be like, everybody used my fucking cards? Like,
exactly.
Whereas like everybody wanted my decks and everybody used them, not because they were rare, but because they were dope. They looked good, they felt good, and everybody used them, and they can still get them if they wanted them. You have people still talking about the Turner Gold Seal decks. And how long ago was that? Since Ohio.
Yeah.
It's what, $7 a deck, and they're still available, and people are like, don't even know anything about them. I mean, obviously people that are very heavily involved in the playing cards understand it, but
yeah, man, I love the Turners. I'm actually kind of glad you brought that. That's my favorite bicycle deck is the standards.
I think it's all of the people who, have done Magic for some time. I know Kyle's favorite. I know it's Mike's favorite. Like it's definitely, a deck that people aren't going to be able to get soon because they're going to, unless you have stocks of them, they're running low and they're not going to be reprinted.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame, but at the same time, I mean, but that's a great example of affordable decks that everybody can get that are truly, genuinely worth having, right? So, I don't know. I see it a lot of different ways, but my closing thought on that, I guess, would be if we contrast somebody like, let's say, like the Orbit deck who some of their decks are a bit more rare in the beginning when their company wasn't as big or wealthy as it is now. But now, if an Orbit deck comes out, I mean, there's enough for people to buy, and it still has that status of being, a little bit of hype and a lot of, great design. And obviously Daniel Schneider designed it, so, people like it for that reason. But I love the Orbit decks, and I love that they're available. I can still go buy the new Orbit deck if I want, so I love that.
Who designed the first and second Orbit? Because Daniel Schneider didn't.
He did not. He designed. Daniel Schneider did the Ace of
Jokers.
Spades. The Jokers. Yeah,
the Jokers.
Chris Orbit Brown designed the first two.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if he had help, but yeah, he did the first two designs, and then everything preceding that with Schneider, which is when the cards got pretty awesome.
I think Daniel is an amazing, super talented dude, but like, whoever designed the first and second Orbit, like, let's give them a little bit more credit. Like, they're the ones that paved the road for Daniel to create those other 7 decks or so. What it was?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The other 6 decks. So I think, and I don't know if it was Tyler I was talking to. I think it might have been Chris actually, who's Deckhead on Instagram, and we were talking about designers and creators and stuff like that. And I'm like, unfortunately, unless you're the sole designer of the deck, like Nick Elemental, and you have Elemental, and you have Luke Wadey. They're the designers. They're the ones that come out with the deck. You know who designed it. But for the most part, if Kier Gomes comes out with a deck, nobody fucking knows who designs it. If someone comes out with Orbit, unless you're like into the community, you're not going to really know. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that I think we should really try to kind of let people know a little bit more at where that creation comes from. And because it's like I'm sure dealing with Nick, it is a process to for them to come up with the amazing stuff they come up with. You know what I mean?
100%. I think my thing with Nick especially is I recognize that right away as somebody who reviews these products. There's times when I tend to either forget to mention who designed it because it's behind a brand, or there's times when I talk so much about the designer I forget to mention who came up with the concept or whatever the case is. But with Nick, I wanted Nick with the SlowHands deck to get the credit. I mean, like, I could not have done that without him. So we put his name everywhere that my name shows up. We put his face in the deck with my face. I mean, he's equal 50-50 with me on this, and he deserves every single percent of that. I mean, he's worked so hard on that deck. Yeah,
for sure. And I think you're one of the few who like put it out there as much, and I think that's great. I just think we need to do that more as people in the community, and I think it's just, I mean, as humans, we all want to take credit and look good, right?
Yeah,
and I think we need to just, because we can't do anything by ourselves. Absolutely nothing. Right. You can create all the video you want. If nobody watches it, you ain't shit. So it's like we need everybody, doing this. And I think a lot of people forget about that. And a lot of people throw other people under the bus. And like, people see that, they notice it, and it's not good for our community as a whole, So I another thing just to commend you on is it's really cool how often you do mention that, and and we just have to do more, of sharing that,
giving credit where credit's due. I think.
For sure. Yeah.
It's so important. I talked to Tyler about this last week. Or earlier this week. Yeah. It's oddly competitive, our community, and that's a shame because it doesn't need to be. We all have a very niche interest in the same thing, and I think that's huge that we can all connect like that. I don't think it should be competitive. I think it should just be like, hey, everybody's trying to learn, everybody's trying to get better, everybody's just enjoying their cards.
Yeah, for sure. There's actually a good question from Kevin Goosey. He said, what are your thoughts on subscription decks like King's Wild? And I mean, that's pretty much the only, I mean, I guess some people have some Patreon stuff, but but for the most part, I think Jackson's one of the only ones that's doing subscriptions, right?
He's the only designer,
but he's not designing. Yeah,
he's the only designer that's doing it, right?
Yeah, I know that there's like retailers that do like the pit box subscription or whatever, but I think that's awesome. I really do think it's cool. So Jackson Robinson, man. I mean,
he's a factory man.
Yeah, what can I say? Sign me up. No, I think it's cool. And the reason that I think it's cool is because Robinson does something with his subscription service where you can still, if you love a deck, you can still get it. You just won't get the whatever the subscription version of it is. So I love that. I love that, like, hey, if you're willing to pay a little bit more, you're going to get something that only the people that pay for can have. It does give that exclusivity, but where it's anybody can sign up for it.
It's still attainable.
It's not finite. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I don't know. That makes me happy. So I support subscription services. I think they're great.
Yeah.
Cool.
He has that Robin Hood deck coming up probably in the next couple of months, which I'm super excited about. And honestly, like I don't subscribe to his service just because it's a lot of it's expensive, and there's a lot of decks that I'm very much like a window shopper with decks. I'm like, ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. So like for me, I'd rather have that freedom and know that my money isn't locked up. But that Robin Hood deck, 100% on my list, and I'm glad that availability is there, because otherwise you would see it on eBay for $100 2 days later, and you'd see people gouging it. And I think he knows that he can help keep the market at a reasonable point with that.
Yeah. And for somebody, in his position that has that kind of clout, that's a really cool thing. So the Robin Hood deck is going to be sick.
And I mean, he's the pockets that he's hitting are really cool, with his Lord of the Rings. It's just, who knows what else. It's going to be interesting to see what else comes out of him,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he actually had a really good Instagram live a couple days ago where he was showing some of his like designs he didn't enjoy that people have never seen surface. And it was interesting to see even his like work that he didn't necessarily like or wasn't where he wanted to be was still spectacular. Like,
oh yeah, I'm sure.
He's an amazing designer. He really has a creative knack, and it's great to see him take that knack and have the entrepreneurial drive to then be able to flourish and, really grow on it, which is cool. It's what you want to see,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the only thing I am concerned about with someone who's, I mean, obviously he's creative because they're all different decks, but like the only thing I'm concerned about is when you are putting out that many decks, the creativity goes down a little bit, and I think it's kind of like that whole idea of you can be doing 4 things, but 100% is not going into 4 things.
Yeah.
You're actually like kind of divvying up your percentage of time that you can allot to those. So if you cut it down to 3 things, that percentage of time spent on each kind of goes up, and I think that's the only concern that I have when something like that is happening. But I mean, the dude's creative as fuck, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think there was another. No, that looks like it. Oh, I have another question. Do you have another question? Do we have a diesel question?
So we do have a diesel question, but I had another question that's not a diesel question, but kind of in the same vein, actually. And this is from Dusty. And it's
LC
yeah, LC Dusty, yeah. So do you think in another universe magic is real? And I feel like I'm going to preface this a little bit as I feel like everyone who likes magic kind of somewhere deep down hopes it's real somewhere. So all you to answer it there now, but I'm going to throw out my opinion on that real quick.
All right. And who asked that question?
LC Dusty.
LC Dusty. All right. That has to be probably one of the best questions I've been asked on a Q&A in a while.
Nice.
So in order for me to believe that magic is real, that would mean that I'd have to believe that there are other universes, which I definitely do. So yeah, man, I think anything's possible. There are some really spooky things that science can prove. But I like to think that, yes, somewhere in the vastness of anywhere, that there is somewhere where magic is real. Yeah.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. You put a little seed in the ground, right? And you come back 10 years later and there's a freaking 100-foot tree. That's pretty magical to me.
It's very true. Also, how babies are made seems pretty magical. It's almost the exact same way.
Yeah,
and,
that's
I mean,
true.
The fact that a human can grow from another human is pretty amazing.
It's crazy stuff. Yeah.
And some I think some people's sleight of hand is pretty magical. Like the trick they are doing might not be so magical, but the fact that you even know what they're doing and you can't see them do it, that's pretty magical to me.
I have to agree. Yeah, my version of what magic is very different, I think, than a lot of people. But yeah, to me, I very much think that magic really, that is the magic. The method is the magic, you know. But truly, the experience is. I mean, just like anything else, if you can observe it, or if you can't observe it, then maybe it isn't there, right? And if you can, then maybe it is. So if you see something that looks magical, I mean, depending on who you are as a person or what your beliefs are, I mean, isn't that just as much magic as if, you know, as if it was actually magic? Kind of.
Yeah, no, hey man, I agree. I mean, it's pretty magical that if you can walk up to someone who is having a really shitty day and you do an easy double lift and you show them the card, you turn it over, put the card in the middle, and then you turn over their card and they have this big smile on the face. That's pretty magical to me, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's I would say the biggest thing that I miss about just interacting in the real world is just the little things, just doing card magic for people or borrowed items or whatever the case is. And just that every once in a while, just getting that like little extra of, I think I really made someone's day here with this ridiculous talent that I spent too much time on, you know?
Right. Yeah. How much time do you think while you were practicing and putting the time in, did you spend daily on doing, magic?
Well, I mean, I still practice daily. You know, I think magicians are supposed to say that you're always a student, which is very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, there's days when still today, you know, I mean, like there's days when I'll spend a good 4 hours practicing if I can, whether it's like I can't sleep and I'm just up fidgeting, or the worst is when I have an idea and I'm not in an opportune practice environment, like whether I'm out running errands or I'm working on whatever, or I'm editing a video and I get an idea for an effect or I get an idea for a flourish or something, and I got to grab a deck of cards and I'll practice it until I have the idea. And I would say on average, I mean, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of hours, but I mean, hours a day, every day, no matter what, at least an hour. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that's cool.
That's awesome. You also get crazy finger dexterity from practicing magic and cardistry. That's something I've already learned. It's like, it's crazy.
My look different since I started YouTube. That's for sure. Like
there you go. Well, and yeah, one of the things I saw is someone was like, "Oh, I started doing like cardistry a week ago, and this was my hand then, and then here's my hand now," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like the finger, like the stretch alone there. I'm like, "All right, it's good to know. Like you're definitely exercising there. You're slowly burning calories while we're all trapped at home. Cards are a great way to exercise."
Yeah,
so,
that's how you get that cut. You know, right here, that little muscle cut right there in the side of your arm.
There you go.
Remember Army do the Charlie A and run down this?
Yeah. Or you have this one right here.
Oh yeah, yep.
That one gets kind of bulky. I think so. We have two other questions here,
and we did have a Kyle question too. Whenever we're ready for it, so.
All right, so let's ask these two, and then we'll close out with the Kyle. So again, this is Chris, and he said, "What review channels do you watch that inspired you to kind of, get more into doing your own reviews?"
All right, you guys ready for this? I'm just kidding. I know I have this thing when I'm nervous, which obviously I am. I talk a lot.
This is a talk show. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. I guess it's better than having somebody on here with the opposite problem.
Get nervous as you possibly can. That way you talk.
So I did not start. I didn't become a deck reviewer, right? Whatever that term is, or occupation. I didn't do that on purpose. I did it because, I wanted to share things that I enjoyed with other people, and that came in the form of deck reviews, which now I really enjoy, right?
Right. For sure.
But in terms of inspiration, I mean, The Gentleman Wake is, in my opinion, the pinnacle of what deck reviews can be. I mean, that's as far as you can take it and still call it a deck review. It's so amazing. So he's my biggest inspiration, and I've been very fortunate. We worked together on a video last year, which was just unreal, getting to collab with him in a video. It's actually on my channel, so if you guys haven't seen it, there you go.
I'll definitely link to that as well in the comments below, so check it out, everybody.
Yeah, it's the Parlor deck review. So he's definitely my biggest inspiration in terms of how am I explaining what the buyer of this deck is getting, right? Because he's very thorough, he's very well spoken. but I don't really. I mean, other than that, I don't watch a lot of deck reviews. That's not really true. I don't look for deck reviews, right?
Right. Yeah.
Is every once in a while I'll see a new channel or I'll see somebody like, hey, check out my YouTube. And even though I'll put this up there too, I don't always comment you guys back when you ask me to check out your channels, but I do check out your channels.
Yeah.
There you go. Good to know.
So I'm really bad at that. Sometimes people will hit me up and ask me to do it. And, regardless of etiquette, that's, I get it. You're making stuff. You want to share it with people that you think might enjoy it.
Right.
So every once in a while I'll come across stuff, but yeah, Gentleman Wake for deck reviews for sure. And then in terms of just Magic, Miss Mag, I think was the first Magic channel that I ever subscribed to. It was an old one, but really good stuff, kind of in the same style as Pig Cake, but before Pig Cake. Really, really cool channel. And I don't know, I really love ECAT's channel. I really love her channel. I love how dynamic it is. It's not just, one thing. It's very different. So I really like her channel.
Nice. Nice.
So we actually had a question that came in from Twitch from Ian Carter-Striak. Let me see if I can pull this up here again. There we go. How do you get to the point of companies sending you decks to review or for personal use?
All right. So
how do you get free shit? I want free shit.
All right. So Ian Cardistry Addict. I get asked it. I do get asked this a lot. And here's the thing. I actually don't like that question. And the reason I don't like that question is because if you get into doing something for the purpose of something like getting free stuff, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, period. Right. And I'm very steadfast on that belief for a lot of reasons. But I think the big thing for me is, I don't know how I got to that point. I was doing something that I love doing, and eventually the right person will see it and they'll hit you up. So I used to get like direct messages on Instagram all the time from people just being like, hey, I'm trying to get sponsored, or I'm trying to get sponsored. Everybody wants to get sponsored. How do I do it? I would always tell people the same thing, and that's don't try. What the worst thing you can do is not have content, or not have, if you don't have any of your videos of you performing cardistry or Magic, or you don't have any quality photos or really portfolio, the worst thing you can do is hit up these companies because they will ignore you. And not through any fault. And I'm not trying to slam anybody, by the way. I think the big thing to remember is just do it because you love it. And then because you love it, you'll get better at it. And when you get to a point where you can offer this company something that they can benefit from getting, they'll come to you. And like for reviewing decks, if a company says, hey, this small channel, like I mean, my channel is pretty small, right? So somebody sees it and they go, well, maybe they can reach some viewers, they'll come to me. But that doesn't mean that there's a formula. There is no secret sauce. Just do the best you can. The worst thing you can do is not have content to show anybody, because then why would a company want to sponsor somebody that has no content? What are you doing for them then?
I think that's the secret sauce. Like you said, the secret is like, do the time, do the work, do the time, show that you are like, what I mean, if you have 10 decks, it doesn't matter if it's a bicycle deck, it doesn't matter if it's a Congress deck, it doesn't matter what deck it is. Get online, do reviews of those decks. I think it'd be kind of cool to see someone doing. That'd be sweet.
Put your personal spin on it.
Yeah, get that stuff up and just start there. And then when you get a deck, it's kind of like when I started in photography. I did a lot of free photo shoots. I reached out and, I'm new to the area. I'm trying to like make a name for myself. I would love to do a free shoot for you. Is that cool? And I think it's the same way. It's like, just do the work, man.
Yep. There is absolutely, there's no other way. And I think too, this is worth mentioning because I'm very passionate about this topic. Because I think that in our community, if one thing can poison the love that we all have for the same craft or about the same craft, it's materializing to the point where you don't enjoy it. Right.
Yeah.
So
right.
I've been in situations before where I'm very fortunate. I want to say that too, is I love that I have a small channel that people can come to when they want to see a cool deck review, or I love that I have so much reach, but also at the same time it's so small that I can stay connected with people and interact. But I
hope that never changes, man. I hope that interaction never changes.
Oh, it can't change, man. It's I appreciate it so much, and that's part of the fun. The whole point is to meet people, right, and make friends. So I stand by that. But I think too, like, if again, I'm very fortunate. There's companies that'll come to me and go, hey, we have this deck we want to review, or we want you to review, or we have this prototype we haven't even printed yet. There's times when I do have to say no, and it's not because I don't want free stuff. It's because if I feel like I haven't earned it, or B, there's a better option, like, hey, don't have me review your prototype, get it printed and then hit me up, and then we'll see what we can do. I'll help you with the campaign, but you don't want to review before it's out, or whatever. So there's times that I have to say no to the freebies, and it's because it's not about that. And I have to remind myself of that, because when I take on too much, I start to resent the people that are like, hey, can I send you this? And I'm like, just go away.
Yeah.
So it's all about appreciating what you have. And if you have a deck of bicycles, you have the world. You have so much potential with just that one deck. So, I know it's cool to have all the new stuff. I'm guilty of it, but for anybody that needed to hear that, now you know.
Yeah, no, that's good insight, man. And it's cool because I think, like, I'm so grateful for you coming on, because this is a side of Kier that we don't really get to see, and I think this is one of the things that I love so much about this show is learning about people and understanding, and I think learning about the people behind the hobby is where the community becomes better, and we become more connected, and whether it's mental health and being more aware of people around us and what they're going through or whatever. I think that connection is really key. And, that's cool that you're connected in that way. So, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on to talk about all this stuff. It's so much different than what I'm used to doing for my videos. So
we really try and keep it light and easy, and, make it about the community. I think that's one of the nice things about it is, the fun part about this community is having people who are, accessible and getting to see their human side. To someone who's just getting involved in this, they may come across your channel, and while you may think it's small to them, 2,000 may be a lot, 2,500, whatever subscriber count you're up to now, they may be like, wow, this is, who is this guy? And they may say, this guy's awesome, I'd love to get to know him, not even realizing that they can reach out to you and that you will talk to them, and that it is that kind of community. And that's, I think, one of the things we love to be able to bring to it too is, to be very honest with everyone here, we reached out to Kier. We said, hey, you want to come on the show? He said, yes. It wasn't any, hard process necessarily. It's just being willing to reach out and take that first step. And I think even with the your point of building the show, that first thing you have to do is be willing to take the step and then take it. So
yeah, absolutely. And Tyler, you actually brought up a good point. So it's funny about that too. I don't know who all is on the live, and I probably wouldn't recognize a lot of names, but I do get asked that a lot. I get asked by people like, why don't you ever respond to my comments? Or, why when I send you a message, do you read it, and then like it and then respond? And then I send you another one and you don't read it. It's like, to me, it's all a matter of one thing. And this, I think, might help is, I don't typically go on like social media and go, let me check my messages, get back to them, and then go on about my day. It's usually like, I'm waiting for my coffee or something, and I just pick up my phone and I'm looking at stuff, and then I lock it and go on about my day. So, and then we forget, right? So that happens. But I do think it's cool that you guys provide a space where people can, like, even right now, being interactive during the live stream is super cool. And I love that, there's names that I haven't seen, and then there's a lot of names that I recognize, and it's so cool to see that, like, it's like we're all hanging out, having a talk in front of however many people are on, and that's so cool.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Definitely.
Yeah,
helps build out the community side of it,
It's kind of
Yeah, I mean, we dig it. I look forward to it every week, and
absolutely,
it's definitely. I mean, the people that we have coming on is going to be pretty dope. Like,
I've heard. I'm so humbled after I heard the list of people that you have like the show. I was like, and
I'm just shocked. I'm in it. Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
David Blaine's on next week, everyone. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh
well, he'll be on eventually. I have no doubt.
Cool. Steve's favorite game to play is to text me and be like, "Guess who's on?" And I'm like, "There's literally 1,000 people I want to get on the show." So when you say that, I have no idea, and he won't tell me, and it drives me nuts. And then he messages me, and I'm just like, "Oh shit, that's awesome." So he knows how to play it right, but like, gets me every time.
Oh, that's so funny, man. Yeah,
gotta keep him guessing, man.
It's fun too. I really like the way that like the format that you guys use, the kind of like the end of one episode. You're like, and next week this is who it's going to be. Ask them some questions. And what I really like about that the most is it gives me a huge advantage so that I can help, like add it to my story or like do a post. Yeah. It helps when you guys have already done the graphic and you've already made the flyer and I can just repost because
right.
Then I can do it 10 times instead of, all the effort just to do it once. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Tyler is good like that. I can't take any credit for that. Tyler crushes the graphics.
I'm going to tell you right now too, I've never, like, this is art in any way is not my forte. So like, I'll be texting my girlfriend all the time, be like, "Hey babe, like, how do I do this in Photoshop? How do I do that?" And thanks to her, she is super helpful with it. But like, yeah, all of it now, I figured out how to build templates in it. So like, thankfully it's a lot easier to drop it in and get it looking good and do it all up. But we'd love to, honestly, I love the ability to get this out there ahead of time and ask the people for questions. Cause you get so much stuff that people don't think about on the fly that they want to know. And I hate to have the thought that someone's sitting out there being like, "Oh man, I meant to ask something and I forgot." Like, it's nice to be able to give them that opportunity. And then we used to try and do this thing where people would guess the guest, and that was a fun time, but we didn't get as much interaction as we hoped there. So like this, I think gives people a lot more opportunity to really get excited about who the guest is and really hype themselves up about it. So
yeah, definitely. And especially if it's somebody that they are familiar with, right? So a lot of your guys' guests, I've seen have been like, "Oh, no way, I'm checking it out," right? So I saw you like Cam, and kind of everybody that you guys have had on actually are people that I know, which is super, super cool.
Yeah. And it's fun to see that side of them.
We're booked till August, just to give you a little insight on,
I love
how our book. The only thing that stinks about that is, as we're booking, I'm like, well, nobody knows that far ahead. Like, I can't reach out to so-and-so and be like, "Yo, are you available in September to do a show?"
They're like, "Ask me in September, you psycho."
Right.
We literally when this all first came about, we're sitting there being like, I don't know, like, are we going to be able to find people? And we were booked till mid-August, probably 3-4 weeks ago now. So like we stopped booking people. And it's so encouraging though, to see how excited people are to get on this and have this opportunity to just like sit down and shoot the shit and have people ask questions and see where it goes.
Yeah. And the cool thing is like in our heads, we're like, "Oh, that person's too big. They're not going to be interested." But like, all it takes is asking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to have the idea. You can't come up with something to be like it's not solidified yet. You can't be like, "Blah, blah, blah. Are you guys down?" So I think what it comes down to is like, you have an idea that sounds appealing to whoever that is that you're presenting it to. And we've just been really lucky in, it's cool to see where it's going and learn about, all these people that we only see, in front of the camera, rather than having a conversation about stuff, more than just like kind of what we see on their YouTube channel or on TV, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, that reminds me, I'm asking the audience now, but for those of you that are familiar with my channel, live streams, what do you think about them? Should I do them, or do you like me better when I can edit myself?
So we actually did have someone from Twitch who asked, would you consider doing a cardistry or magic Zoom call? So I'm guessing there is a little bit of, especially with everything going on, I think there's a big vibe and a big jump into this whole live stream aspect of it. So
yes, there is. So that's a great question, because so I was just talking to Cam like yesterday, I think, or maybe the day before.
Yeah, because they're doing the organic
garden.
Yeah. I signed up for that. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, this sounds awesome.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would have known who signed up, because so Cam, that idea is absolutely brilliant to me.
Yeah.
He called me and was like, "Here's the idea. What do you think?" And I was like, take all my money. I don't know. I love the idea of community in an actual community.
Yeah.
Right.
And I did, unfortunately, I'm just a little bit too busy at the moment, but I did, he did ask if I would be down to do one of those hangouts or like lead some of those sessions. And so I guess my answer to the question off of Twitch that we just got is I'm absolutely interested in doing that at some point, like a Zoom cardistry deck review type thing. At the moment, I definitely don't have time. But if I do decide to do that, I for sure will make a thing out of it. Yeah.
Nice. That'll be awesome. You'll definitely find Steve and I there for sure. Before we get deep into it, though, too, I do want to make sure we get Kyle's question out so he doesn't feel, left out here.
Kyle. Yeah.
Kyle's pretty old. He probably forgot he even asked the question.
I'm not gonna lie though, this was actually probably my favorite Kyle question so far, just because it really made me think. So
it's gotta be.
Sometimes they're outlandish, but like this one was like, damn, maybe it is. So Kyle's question for today was, why isn't chocolate considered a vegetable? If chocolate comes from cocoa beans and all beans are vegetables, right?
So I want to clarify. Kyle expects me to answer that question, right?
No, you don't have to do. You answer it to the best of your knowledge.
Why is a tree good? I don't know why. So I think that's an unanswerable question, but it is a great question, and now I also would be curious.
Right?
I'm not gonna lie.
So check it out though. It's not the fact that it's not chocolate, because chocolate is not the original form, right? The original form is a pod, is like a bean, right? It's like the cacao plant, right? And it's So, I mean, is that considered a vegetable?
Actually, that's a good point, because in that same regard, then salsa is not a vegetable; it's a condiment made of vegetables.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. So I don't know if that actually is considered, but it's like, I don't know, man.
Also, Justin Barrett dropped some knowledge in the chat and said beans are legumes. So, Kyle, you really didn't research well enough on this one. Thank you, Justin.
Poutine is a salad. Yeah, See, now we're starting to get crazy on here.
Yeah. We cracked it wide open, guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Leave it up to Kyle.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Yeah. Beans are actually legumes. Wow. So never mind, Kyle. Sorry, man. Great question, though.
This is actually the second week that I think someone shut Kyle down, because last week Jonathan crushed him on the explained string theory in 4 words or less, and he was just like, complex. Dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's Jonathan though. Jonathan's on point.
Oh my god! Like, said it with such a straight face. I was like, holy shit! Like he just like flatlined Kyle right there.
Just like that's it. That's all it is. That's funny. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say dude. Honestly, I think we could talk for 6 more hours. So before we dive into like another conversation, we should probably wrap it up. But
we have one more thing to do though. We have to give away we have to announce our giveaway winner.
Oh yeah, for the flex deck.
For the flex decks, it's actually going to be 3 flex decks: the V1 and the V2, the blue and the red version. We didn't get to explain it yet, but the difference between the blue and the red version is one of them's a 2-color court and one of them's a 4-color court. The V2s were actually designed by I'm going to completely butcher her name now. It's Valentina. I want to say like Bordno, who designed the Illusionist Absinthe deck. So you can definitely see, one of my favorite Illusionist decks, hands down. And you can really see her style come through on it. So keep an eye on the bottom of the screen, guys. If your name pops up.
Hey!
So there we go. Congratulations, Clever Tricks 101.
I think she won one of my giveaways in the past also.
Very nice. There you go. So make sure to reach out to Flex Deck Playing Cards. He will get your information and hook you up with those decks. Again, thank you to everyone who participated with that. Also, we're enjoying doing these giveaways. I think we're probably going to try and do something at least once a month just to collaborate with someone in the community and get some information out there about these people. So keep an eye on the account. We'll definitely be doing some giveaways going forward. And again, congratulations to Clever Tricks 101.
Yay, congratulations. And one more question, because it was asked 3 or 4 times and I kind of forgot about it. But
to see his cat.
Clint wants to know how many hats do you have?
I'm gonna say north, like more than 10, less than 20, probably.
Okay.
That's
I only
reasonable.
wear, like,
Yeah.
2 of them. Yeah, I only ever wear this Giants one, and then like my cactus one that I got from Jaren over at Cactus Playing Cards, and then my Black Roses one. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I think I have more T-shirts than hats. Although
All right.
I also wear like the same like 10 T-shirts, so I don't know.
I think everybody does that.
No
Cool.
lie though, too. Like 8 people did ask to see your cat, so this is a very cat-loving show, other than Steve.
All
I
right,
fucking
yeah,
hate cats.
I think my cat and her mom are probably chilling at the moment, but I'll get a picture for you guys.
There you go.
She is beautiful, I have to say.
I told you guys we got this. Literally, Clint just pops in. He goes, "Nice."
I know, yeah.
Kevin Goosey is my homie. He's with me.
Dude. Oh man.
All right.
I think people want to see the cat more than us.
I'm
I
okay
mean,
with that. I like cats.
Cuter
Yeah.
than me, that's for sure. Yeah.
Cats are adorable. I completely get that.
I definitely. I'm a cat guy.
There you go, Kier. See, I wasn't lying.
Oh man, yep, there it is. All right, so if you guys can see this is my cat.
Oh, nice.
Yes, she looks like Rocket Raccoon off of Guardians of the Galaxy.
All right, so that is awesome.
So now you guys have seen my cat. You know everything there is to know about me.
There we go.
Right on. Sweet.
Oh, and just it might as well. My wife is real too. This is my
All
wife.
right. There you go. We weren't doubting, but thank you for the clarification.
She married me even though I like magic.
I'm going to tell you, that should give
I'm
hope
not
to
real.
everybody.
Magical, dude.
I need to do a
That should
tutorial.
give hope to everyone.
I think I've been asked that once. I think somebody did ask me like, "How do you get girls?" I was like, "You don't. That's part of the deal." You know, I mean,
You
unless
either
they
like magic or you like girls. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you got to be lucky, I guess. I don't know.
Cool.
Dude, that's too
Well,
funny.
dude, thank
Yeah,
you
it was
so
a blast,
much,
guys.
man. It was such an honor having you on, and I appreciate it and all the work you do. And thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and same to you guys. You guys are super amazing, and also this was so easy getting set up, and so thank you for making it super easy on me.
But we try and make
Awesome. No,
it
thank
as
you.
easy as possible. So thank you also to everyone who came on both Twitch and on YouTube. I'm glad to see we were able to actually pull that off tonight pretty well. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, guys, so you can get the notifications for any future lives. So we're doing these every Thursday. We're also going to be coming out hopefully with some new little short videos in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye on the YouTube channel. And Steve and I are actually going to be streaming a deck opening tomorrow on Twitch. So check that out. Also, he's got some of the, what are they? Paperwave holographs?
Hyperdrive.
Hyperdrive.
Oh,
There you go.
those the gilded ones?
No, dude. I wish.
Oh no, just
So-
those are great cards.
Yeah.
But so definitely check out the Twitch tomorrow too. We're going to be doing that probably sometime after 5 p.m. Eastern Standard, obviously a little looser on that. So check it out, guys. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for being on. And if you want to reach out to any of us about anything, feel free. You know where to find us. We will have all of our information in the comments below. And have a nice night.
Wait.
What?
Next week, who's our guest?
Oh, geez. Yeah, look at me. See, again, we've only been doing this for a couple of weeks. I'm slipping my mind. Next week's guest, everybody, is Stu McCann. So if you do not know Courier Stu, definitely check him out on Instagram. He's going to be on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are super excited to have Stu on. He's going to be a fun one. So check it out.
Yeah. Peace out, y'all.
See
Later,
you guys.